everybody to tell me they're lying right now, because what the do you mean that I'm not gonna get my SNAP benefits? What the do you mean?
We are possibly going to lose our farm if NRCS doesn't hold up their contract with us on the EQIP program. Because of the executive orders, there's a pause or a freeze on the funding, and they're not able to pay out on the stuff that we completed or anything going forward.
Beyond betrayed. They used us during the campaign. The elected officials from the Republican Party, they actually told us that it was not going to touch the documented people.
I mean, you're an educator. You didn't vote for Trump eliminating federal funds
No,
here.
I did not vote for that. I do not think that's what the voters want. If we have federal cuts, then that's going to mean bigger classroom sizes. I would lose teachers, first and foremost. It's devastating.
So Donald Trump got on stage last night and said, we can't afford daycare or Medicaid. We're funding wars. Sir, didn't you run on lowering costs for Americans, no new wars, and finding a better healthcare plan to replace the Affordable Care Act? Oh, and while you mentioned Israel 6 times last night, you left out the part where we pay them billions of dollars in aid every year, and they give their citizens free healthcare and childcare. Meanwhile, you're telling the American people that even though it comes out of our paycheck every month, we can't afford Medicaid for Americans. Oh, and another thing. If we stop federal funding for Medicaid and transfer it to the states, like you were suggesting, the average American taxpayer, you and I, would be paying $3,000 to $5,000 more per year. So just to recap, we can fund wars, we can send billions overseas, yet we can't afford basic needs for Americans at home.
Guys, let's be honest for a moment, because something is happening in America right now that a lot of people never thought they would have to experience themselves. People who supported this administration are finding themselves struggling with the very programs they once thought would always be there. And some of them are crying, and some are even saying they cannot afford groceries anymore. They are worried about feeding their children, looking at their bank accounts and wondering if how they're supposed to make it through their month. And this is where the conversation becomes uncomfortable, because when you spend years hearing people say, we warned you, eventually you have to ask yourself, did you actually listen? SNAP has been going through major changes. Under the Trump administration, more than 4 million people were estimated to have lost food assistance between January 2025 and April 2026 as new eligibility requirements and other changes took effect. Guys, watch this video until the end to understand what is actually happening in America, and please consider subscribing if you haven't.
Has cut my food stamps from $2,800 down to $350. Now, what am I supposed to do? So I literally just got this piece of mail today saying that due to new policy changes from the Trump administration, all this shit, whatever, that all these cuts and whatever he's doing over there, Now they're telling me I have to go work. Now I have to go do all this. Well, I literally got 5 kids. Okay. I'm trying to sit here and spend time with them. I'm not trying to go work, 50, 60 hours a week so I can pay bills. I just really don't understand. I voted for him this last election because I thought what he had good was going on, but now all of a sudden, all this policy stuff's coming out, and now he's making all these cuts, and now he doesn't want to help the less fortunate people no more.
I'm 65 years old. I'm legally blind. I'm on disability. I went to my doc, and I lost 28 pounds in the last year. I did not need to lose 28 pounds. I did not try to lose 28 pounds. I lost the 28 pounds because I cannot afford to eat anymore. Now, with grocery prices so high, propane, electricity out of this world, I now only allow myself $65 a month for food.
Sharon, are you on SNAP benefits?
Let me tell you, under Joe Biden, I received $80 a month for SNAP. That was taken away from me under Donald Trump. He took it away. He gave me $24 a month. I did receive that for a couple of months. Then he took it down to $12.50 a month. I said, screw you. So I'm not doing that no more. So now I get $65 a month, Mimi. And for them people out there, all these Republicans that are doing so flippin' well right now, I have 3 potatoes. I have a half a tomato. I have 3 bananas, 1 apple, 1 can of soup, a half a loaf of bread, 1 egg, and 1 can of green beans. I do not get paid until the 3rd. I am disability blind. I cannot drive a car. I'm 15 miles out of town, so I am not able to just trot my butt down to the food shelf. I used to volunteer at the food shelf. I can't even do that anymore. I don't understand. I'd like somebody to explain to me, why is it always the poor people that are helping the poor people? I don't understand.
Conservatives losing their SNAP benefits are just getting what's coming to them for voting for Donald Trump. This is exactly what you wanted. Now you get what you deserve.
There is absolutely nothing that MAGA folks won't blame on people of color. Not because folks of color are actually to blame for any of those things, but because it's all MAGA knows. If you're out of work, must be because an immigrant of color or a black person took your job. If your taxes are too high, it must be because of welfare payments going to those people. Never mind the contradiction of saying that they take all the jobs, but also take none of the jobs because they're too busy relying on welfare rather than working. It can't be both, guys. You got to pick a lane, right? Kid didn't get into the college you wanted? Well, must be because a person of color got preferential treatment and stole their slot, even though the Supreme Court has essentially ended race-based affirmative action. You can't afford a home? Well, it must be because immigrants are taking all the homes and driving up the cost. Forget for a minute that they're also the ones building most of the homes, thereby driving down the cost. But, whatever. Scared of crime? Well, it must be because black and brown folks and migrants are making the cities unsafe. Forget for a minute that crime has actually dropped, even as immigration has gone up, and immigrants have lower crime rates than American citizens, but, whatever. When the pandemic hit, oh yeah, that was the fault of Asians, people of color, and their open air markets. When a door flew off a plane a couple years ago, Elon blamed it on a DEI program for pilots. And when a barge brought down a bridge in Baltimore, the right blamed it on the DEI mayor, which is just their new word for the N-word. To MAGA, white folks are never to blame for anything. Black and brown folks are to blame for everything. Why? Because MAGA is a racist cult. If your answer for every problem in America is people of color, you're a racist by definition. If your answer is Jews, you're a Nazi. And in either case, you deserve to be crushed utterly and without pity or mercy.
Nearly half of Arizona families receiving SNAP benefits have disappeared from the system in less than a year. And no, that does not mean hunger suddenly disappeared in Arizona. It means people are getting cut off while the state struggles with a massive backlog and new federal restrictions. Arizona is experiencing the largest drop in SNAP participation in the entire country, and thousands of families are now scrambling just to feed their children because apparently surviving inflation now also requires surviving government paperwork roulette. So according to recent reporting, Arizona went from more than 455,000 families receiving these benefits last July to just over 235,000 families in April of this year. That's nearly a 50% drop. We are talking about parents skipping meals, children losing food access, and families sitting in bureaucratic limbo for months while trying to survive rising grocery prices, rent increases, and an unstable job market. One Arizona mother told reporters she's been submitting paperwork since August and still cannot get benefits restored while caring for children with a life-threatening blood disorder. The Arizona Department of Economic Security says part of the problem is a massive backlog tied to new federal SNAP requirements, outdated technology, staffing issues, and stricter eligibility rules implemented after changes from the Trump administration last year. So those changes expanded work requirements and removed exemptions that previously protected some residents in Maricopa County. Certain immigrant groups also lost eligibility entirely under the new federal changes. And what makes this especially concerning is that advocacy groups and policy researchers say the drop is far too large to simply be explained by people no longer needing help. Arizona's unemployment rate has not suddenly collapsed. Grocery prices are still high. Families are still struggling. Researchers with the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities warned that Arizona's decline far exceeds national trends and may reflect eligible families losing access because of paperwork barriers, processing delays, and administrative failures. And that matters because food insecurity is not just a hunger issue, it's a healthcare issue too. Children experiencing food insecurity face worse long-term health outcomes, chronic stress, developmental issues, and higher rates of hospitalization. Families under this level of financial strain often delay medical care, and then they ration their meds or end up in crisis systems that cost far more than prevention ever would. If nearly half your recipients disappear while demand remains high, that is not evidence the crisis solved. It's evidence that the system is becoming harder to survive.
I'm losing all my food stamps. Basically, my car is about to probably be taken next month. So I just got a notification from DSHS that they're going to be giving me $275 to feed me and my 2 kids. You know, I have chronic medical conditions. I've worked my ass off to try to succeed on TikTok and a plethora of other things. I have a billion different certificates. I have education. I have training. I have a lot of success under my belt, but I'm not, I'm fucking tired. I'm tired, and I've got chronic medical conditions, and I can't afford to feed my kids, and I'm 2 months behind on my credit card bills, and I'm not gonna be able to afford my car payment, like for sure, definitely, next month. So that's where we're at.
Trump has cut my food stamps from $2,800 down to $350. Now, what am I supposed to do? Huh? So I literally just got this piece of mail today saying that due to new policy changes from the Trump administration, all this shit, whatever, that all these cuts and whatever he's doing over there, now they're telling me I have to go work. Now I have to go do all this. Well, I literally got 5 kids. Okay. I'm trying to sit here and spend time with them. I'm not trying to go work, 50, 60 hours a week so I can pay bills. I just really don't understand. I voted for him this last election because I thought what he had good was going on, but now all of a sudden, all this policy stuff's coming out, and now he's making all these cuts, and now he doesn't want to help the less fortunate people no more. I'm done with that guy. I'm done with that guy. I'm not, if he gets voted in again, I'm leaving this country, because I'm not dealing with this no more. This is all shit.
The school district, I only get paid once a month. By the time I get my bills paid, I have nothing left to pay for food and other basic needs. If it wasn't for SNAP benefits, I wouldn't be able to feed my children or myself. I work, pay my bills, and like every other mom, I want to be sure that I have enough food to put on the table.
You're telling me my tax dollars got you this big? last thing you need to be worried about is having enough.
So Trump is now wanting to cut benefits and support for 400,000 SSI recipients with Down syndrome, autism, dementia, and other disabilities. The Trump administration is working behind the scenes on a rule change that would deduct the value of a disabled adult's bedroom from their SSI allotment, even if the family members that they are living with are so poor that they qualify for food stamps, which is often the case because families who are caregivers for disabled family members are often forced into poverty due to the lack of assistance that's already even available by our government. So it's kind of a self-feeding system. But what this change really means is that Trump wants to slash benefits for the most low-income and financially unstable disabled Americans in our country. Quote, the likely SSI cut will affect not just younger adults with disabilities such as Down syndrome and severe autism who are still living at home with their low-income parents, but also older people with dementia or other health or financial problems who have had to move in with their adult children on tight budgets. All told, as many as 400,000 poor and disabled people and indigent older people across the United States could have their support cut or eliminated, according to a ProPublica analysis of actuarial figures from the Social Security Administration. End quote. So, to receive SSI as a disabled individual, you're already forced to be poor. So you cannot have more than $2,000 in countable assets. That's not even like liquid money in your bank account. $2,000 in assets. And you can't earn more than $994 a month in income, which is less than $1,000. I don't even know where you can live for that price. Not anywhere where I live. If you want to get married, they don't even bother to double that number. You can't have more than $3,000 in assets if you're a married couple. That's for the whole couple. It's disgraceful that this is where the Trump administration thinks that they need to cut further to save money. A ballroom, bombs, those are all necessary. The poorest of the poor, disabled Americans in our country is where they think they need to cut.
So there is a mother standing in a supermarket putting things back because she doesn't have enough money. A disabled person wondering how they're going to eat, and also maybe someone in their senior years and counting the dollars they have earned and realizing that they cannot live off it. And this is a family realizing that little bit of assistance they dependent on isn't coming through the way it used to be. And now you're hearing people who supported this administration saying, somebody help me. Some are even looking towards Democrats and saying, Kamala, please help us. But here's the uncomfortable part. Like, Kamala Harris cannot simply walk into office and erase every consequences of a policy decision. She cannot magically restore every benefit or undo every vote. She cannot press a button and make everything go back to the way it was. And this is where America needs to have a serious conversation about voting, because voting isn't just about what benefits you personally. It's not about your taxes. It's not about immigration and whether the politician personally, like, your vote affects your neighbors, it affects children and people from different backgrounds. And that's something I think a lot of people forget. For years, we've had people say, I'm voting for myself. And okay, but what happens when the policy you voted for eventually reaches your own front door? What happens when the program you thought was for those people is suddenly like the program keeping your family alive? And that's when politics stops being theoretical, and that's when it becomes like very real. And I think this is why many Black Americans are looking at what's happening and saying, we tried to warn you, because Black communities have historically been some of the communities most dependent on programs like SNAP and housing assistance, not because Black people are somehow incapable of taking care of themselves, but because economic inequality has been deeply embedded in American society for generations. And when policies threaten programs to vulnerable communities rely on, the people who have experienced that vulnerability before often recognizes the warning signs. But here's the thing, I don't want anybody to suffer. Trump supporters to go hungry, or even MAGA to lose their homes. I don't want a Republican mother sitting in their kitchen wondering how she's going to buy food. You can disagree with someone's political choices without wanting them to suffer, and honestly, that's the lesson that should come out of this. Like, not revenge, but we should try and educate people, because government policies don't come with a little warning label saying, don't worry, this won't affect you. Like, policies spread, it affects communities and families, and it affects everybody. And that's why the idea of I'll vote for myself can be incredibly dangerous, because what if your vote helps create a system that hurts your neighbor today and your family tomorrow? Like, for example, look at housing. There has been a lot of fear surrounding Section 8 and federal housing assistance. The Trump administration has proposed major changes to housing programs, including restructuring and work requirements. Although it is important to be clear that Section 8 has not simply disappeared nationwide. Congress kept the major programs funded in FY26 appropriate process. But the fact that people are worried should tell you something. People are already struggling with rent, groceries, and life in general. So when you start reducing the safety nets that people depend on, you can't be surprised when people start panicking. And this is bigger than just this administration. It's bigger than just Kamala, and this is bigger than the Democrats and the Republicans. It is about understanding that political decisions have consequences, and that's a lesson American desperately needs right now. Like, you cannot spend years cheering when somebody else loses their benefits and then act shocked when the same system eventually affects you. You cannot celebrate when another community is being pushed out of housing and then assume your house will always be safe. So guys, leave your thoughts in the comment section what you think. Do they deserve it? Like, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing, and see you in my next video.